Welcome to another episode of Courageous Conversations Live. I'm your host, Pierre Quinn, and here on Courageous Conversations, we're leveraging the stories of creatives, of entrepreneurs, of leaders to help you live and lead with greater courage. And you're in for a treat. Joining me for today's Courageous Conversations Live episode is Chelsea Kim. Chelsea, thanks for being my guest today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Pierre.
So looking forward to diving into our conversation. This conversation between you and I actually started on the Leading While Green podcast not too long ago. I put the link to that conversation in the description of this conversation so people can go back and take a listen to that. So here's what I need you to do. If you're stopping the scroll, if you're joining us for this conversation, I need you to do a couple of things for us. Number one, hop in the comment section, just say, what's up? We'd love to give shout outs here on Courageous Conversations Live. Two, you're going to have some questions for Chelsea. And even if you have them as you're watching the replay, go ahead and drop them in and we'll make sure that Chelsea gets those questions and we'll send an answer your way. And the third one, the conversation is going to be so engaging. You don't want to keep it to yourself. So go ahead and hit that share button. We're recording this on a Friday. So help everyone to have a happy Friday by sharing, because sharing is caring. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in our conversation today. So Chelsea, hook us up, give us that Cliff Notes, that 60-second elevator pitch, that snapshot about who you are and what you do.
Sure thing. So I am currently working at a company called Bella. Angela, Will, and I were founders of this. It launched in November of 2020, and we came from various backgrounds. But personally, I run the operations and brand identity for Bella. It's a consumer-facing brand, so it's something entirely new for me. I've usually been in business-to-business experiences, so it's been a wild ride to learn about being in consumer spaces, direct to consumer. We do everything from merchandising to banking services, and we're building a community online and in life so that we can have each other to support. And that's really where we're coming in for doing good. And the services and programs that we provide are all about connection. And we really consider ourselves a lifestyle brand. So new adventures for me, running operations and experiencing the brand piece of a consumer brand.
Now, I know on the Leading While Green podcast, we took a lot of time to dive into your backstory and your incredible journey, such an amazing narrative that you shared on that episode. I want to encourage everyone to click on the link in the description to this conversation to check out that full conversation on the Leading While Green podcast. But Chelsea, give us a little bit, take us back in the time machine just a little bit, and give us maybe a 35,000 foot view of your journey to Bella and what was happening in the background, those pivotal decisions that you made that ultimately led to you serving in the capacity in which you serve now.
Sure. We'll jump all the way back to my childhood and into high school, where I went on my first mission trip through an organization my high school participated with, going to Dominican Republic. And we were building houses, painting them, running dental clinics, nutrition clinics, things along those lines. And that's really where I got my feet wet and got a taste of what doing good can really be. I was very fortunate to be able to do a trip like that. It's not something that everyone gets the opportunity or has the means to do. So I'm very grateful that my family was able to support me in this. But being able to go through that really showed me what the rest of the world can be like. And it exposed me to different cultures and different experiences and the diversity of how these things make the world go round. And so having those experiences, being in these rural areas, really bit me with the bug to travel and to experience culture in different places and truly immerse myself. And that kind of took me on this journey. I lived in Germany for a little while, traveled through Europe, and then I ended up coming back. I'm originally from Hawaii, so it's a very different culture, a very different type of experience than you would see even on the mainland or other countries. And that took me into tech. And I like to say fell into it. It was a little more strategic than that, but it wasn't entirely planned. I studied health education and I was able to travel to Africa and India and do a lot of aid work there in my time. And ultimately, I came to tech because I felt like it was a really good intersection of a way to affect positive change in the world. And it was a way to reach the masses. You could take things outside of yourself and really, to an extent, not the best word, but it goes viral, right? Your message has the ability to really reach a lot more audiences than you probably would if you were just standing on a soapbox screaming into the ether. And that's where technology really comes in, just like this show here. And when I forayed into tech, I always went into the operations side because I'm not an engineer, I'm not a scientist. I like those things. I enjoy product, I enjoy engineering and thinking about how things work in the background, but I love processes. And that's truly what operations is. From there, I always have had a little creative side. I love to draw and paint and do these things that are my outlets. Even during COVID, I took up knitting. I taught myself how to knit, which was very
Nice.
weird for me. It's not something I ever thought I would do with my life, but I ended up knitting baby blankets for friends and things. And it was a way that I could have a creative outlet while we were building this business and really focusing 24/7 on getting a bank launched within a year, really. So that's where I bit the bug bit me, excuse me.
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed kind of doing good for others. And this really culminated into Bella and the ability to spread goodwill and do nice things just for the sake of being nice. And that's where things like our karma account, which I know we'll kind of talk about the business side later,
Yeah.
but the karma account really comes in because it's an opportunity, no matter your means. It could be $1, it could be $20, it could be $1 million, but you can participate and do something kind for another person just for the sake of being kind. And when we think about that, that's ultimately really what my whole life's work has been leading up to. And whether I knew it or not, from that day that I stepped foot in Dominican Republic, through all those trips through different countries and experiencing different cultures and meeting new people, understanding where they came from,
Mhm.
that's where Bella came to play.
So you mentioned Bella being a lifestyle brand that really plays in a lot of different sectors. Where did the impetus for a banking element come from, and a banking element that's built on the principle of kindness and doing goodwill? Because though I'm sure that that was a tough conversation. I'm sure there are people who said that's absolutely not going to work. We don't do banking or financial services that way, even though we may say it on our marketing language that we're nice and friendly and care about people. It's not really the way that it works in this space. So where did the impetus for the banking segment come from, and to do it based on kindness and goodwill and actually looking out for other people?
I think it was a collaboration of the experiences that our founding team had. Angelo and Will come from banking, from neobanking, and understanding those businesses. As
Mhm.
I've already explained, that's not my background and that's not where I came from. But I was able to add a little bit of extra love and compassion to the ideas they already had. When we think about it, finances really come down to the center of everything that we do. It doesn't matter how much you have, it is how you pay for your life, whether that's your shelter, your food, or your fun. And so when we think about what a lifestyle brand really means, it comes back to the center core of your being, whether that's your personality or how you effectively showcase that to others. That's the clothing that you wear, that's the things that you donate toward. All of this takes finances, all of this takes money, and money management is really an opportunity that we can affect positive lasting change with. We can teach people about this. We can give them opportunities and accessibility to different programs that maybe otherwise they haven't had or they haven't had access to.
Mhm.
And so when you think about a way to change someone's life and build a lifestyle, whether that's a day to day, just you want to live, you don't have dreams that are astronomical. Not everyone wants to be a billionaire. That's not who I want to be.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to give back and do good. And to do those things, I need money. I need ways to get to places. I need ways to fund that, to buy resources and be able to build that house or whatever it might be. And so if we can effectively change the way people look at finances, we can enable them to have whatever lifestyle that they want.
Now, there's a part of this, and you mentioned it before, this idea of a pay it forward, a karma account, and I remember reading up on it, and then our conversation about it on the
Mhm.
podcast was really intrigued, and I'm thinking, why is this resonating so much as you're in the early stages of building this? Why is this resonating so much with your clients, the individuals that you serve, with the Bella banking platform versus other maybe humanitarian, philanthropic outreach efforts out there? And how have you integrated this so well into the community?
It really comes down to ease of use. And when we think about anything that we're trying to do, good, bad, or ugly, the hurdles that we have to overcome to do that are the thing that pause us from doing them, right? Whether that's starting your own business and the fear of, is it the right time? Is it the right thing? That's the hurdle, right? So if we can remove those hurdles and give people opportunities to do things, then we allow them the ability to do the things that they want to do. And ultimately, I think the majority of us are truly good people in our souls. We want to help each other. We want to help our communities. We want connection with each other. You want the neighborhood bodega. You don't necessarily want to shop at the big box store where no one knows your name, right?
Mhm.
And those connections, if we can enable them, are just that much easier to action. And so the Karma account really came about, and this goes back to one of your previous questions that I didn't really answer. It came about from a Naples tradition called Cafe Sospeso, and this is something that even there's a TV show right now with Stanley Tucci, and they even talk about it in this TV show where it's a very big piece of their culture is paying it forward. And we just ultimately want to support each other and do that. And this was a really simple way to enable that on a massive scale. I don't have to know you, Pierre, to be able to do something kind for you this way. It's not like we have to be standing in the same coffee shop for me to pay for your coffee, right? Now, anytime that you go and you make a purchase of $20 or less, that could be groceries, that could be school supplies, it could be anything, then you have the opportunity to have someone else pick up your tab. And what better way is there to share love than to let someone know you're thinking about them
Mhm.
without any ideas of recognition or reciprocity? And that purity, I think, is what people are looking for, especially coming out of this world of COVID, where we're all so disconnected and isolated. What better way to feel connected and to feel a little bit of love than having someone pick up your tab that you've never even met before? And yes, it is a very different way of doing banking. It is a different way of approaching the system that is generally set up to take your money and not give you the greatest surprises from it, right?
Yeah.
You house your money with a bank, and if you get a surprise from your bank, it's usually an overdraft fee or an ATM fee or something that's really not a great surprise. That's not really what you want from your bank. And we want to flip that on its head. We want to provide people the opportunity to be surprised and actually delighted to hear from their bank, to understand finances and not be fearful of them. And when we think about that, the Cafe Sospeso theory and the Karma account allow us that one little foray into it so that next time we get a surprise from our bank, we're actually excited to see it.
Talk about the impact that moving from concept to actually seeing it in action had and is having on the team at Bella. It's one thing to say, hey, let's develop a system where people can actually pay it forward and connect with people, literally across the country, around the world, and with these kindness acts. It's one thing to have it on a storyboard or part of a keynote presentation. It's another thing to actually see the transactions happening. What has been the impact on your team moving from concept to actually seeing this happen?
It has not been an easy journey, I will say that.
Mhm,
The systems are not set up to support this, and we don't have our own banking license. We we use banking as a service, and we basically rent a license, for a lack of a better way to put it.
mhm,
And with that system, we don't control who gets accounts or how they get accounts or how these money flows happen. There's only so much that we can affect. So it's something that we've been pushing the industry to change. The ways that we've had to creatively think and navigate through the systems that are already set in place. And there's very much an ideal that if it's not broken, don't fix it. But even if it is broken, it's really hard to fix it because it's a lot of work. And there's a lot of naysayers that are, this is how it's always been done. This is how it needs to be done. Well, when we come back to the basis of what we're really about, it's effectively changing things for the better,
mhm.
which means that we have to fight very hard to do that. Our internal teams are extremely creative. We're all very, very driven. And I'm very happy that I get to work with these people who are just inspirations every day. We're building this community platform to take it to the next level and be able to push these outside of the app and outside of a one-to-one interaction. And the teams that have been working on this are just fantastic. I mean, the ideas that they are pushing forward, the ways that we are navigating through how to fund different initiatives that maybe aren't charitable organizations, they're individuals, and you can't get a grant or you can't get a loan or something to do these tiny projects. Well, there are small business loans or micro lending and things like that, but it's not always set up for the individual to say, I just need $1,000 to go paint this wall and make my neighborhood have this beauty, right?
Yeah.
Back in I guess it was the early 2000s, Malcolm Gladwell had a book where he talked about how New York City changed when they cleaned the graffiti out of the subways and how it became a safer place. Well, those principles still apply. If we can do something that's a small movement, a small thing, then we can effectively change an entire community. And so as we're doing that, people don't necessarily have the money or means to get started. And it comes back to that same concept behind the Cafe Sospesos. It's accessibility and ease of use. If we make it simple, then people can easily do it, and then they will. And so our team has had to drive that very, very strictly forward and keep that forefront for all of our partners, that this is the imperative. This is what is so important to being able to push us outside of the traditional banking experience and what people fear from the banking experiences. There are a lot of neobanks popping up, and I fully appreciate and support them, that are doing things environmentally consciously, and they're focusing on women or the Black and Brown communities, or different ways to approach different people that are safe for those people to be involved. Right? There's already this systematic fear that's been put into them because of historical experiences and generational experiences. So we have to figure out a new way. And we have to do something that's really going to boost our communities and boost each other if we're going to be able to make it into the next level of whoever we want to be.
Can you share how, and this is really a courageous question, you talk about the challenges that you face in Bella, having to think creatively, having to pivot, having to stretch, having to be resourceful and innovative. Can you share how that's even reflective of your own personal story, of how you have faced challenges and obstacles, and through the just journey of learning yourself as a leader, and of discovery and risk taking, and of personal innovation, and even questioning how the story of Bella even resonates with your personal narrative?
Sure. So I have a very wandering story, and I try to keep it succinct because I know this is a short format. But I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I talk about in high school, I went on this mission trip and it really changed and opened my eyes. And when it came to going to university or having these other opportunities to work in tech or all these other places, I didn't have a background in those things. When I went to school, I changed my major every semester. I mean, good, bad, or ugly. I've learned everything that I possibly can. And eventually I graduated with health education just because it came into my fourth semester. And I was sitting there going, okay, I have to graduate now. My my scholarship was running out. I was going to have to do financial aid, and I didn't want to go into debt. And so it was make or break time. And I ended up with health education because it was the only thing that I had enough credits that all I needed was an internship. I just needed one more thing to be able to graduate on time and without going into massive debt, which is very, very lucky. I don't negate the fact that not everyone has these opportunities, and it goes back to the support systems and the opportunities that I was given.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I came out of it not knowing what I wanted to do. I'd studied everything from PR and international relations and pre-med. I was an English major for a little while, creative writing, you name it, I touched on it. I mean, it was really ultimately the best thing that I probably could have done for myself, was not knowing who I wanted to be, because I never put boundaries on myself. And when I came out of university, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I was like, cool, let's take a gap year. I went back to Hawaii and I worked just odd jobs. I worked with the census for a little while. I worked ultimately getting a job as a caretaker and a respite caretaker specifically for special needs children and families. And that opened an opportunity to move to Germany because I moved with a family that I was working with, helping them transition their children, one was autistic, from the Hawaii culture back into the German culture. And if you are familiar with autism, it is something that is very, very hard for people with autism to do, is to move places because there's a lot of change. They need routines and they often don't react well to new stimulus, whether that's new noises or lights or fabrics or you name it. And so with that, I just took a leap, and I was again in that place where I don't know who I want to be or what I want to do, but I want to help people, and this was an opportunity to help somebody. So I went with the family and I helped with that transition. And then when I came back, again, had no idea what I wanted to do. But again, the thread, I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
So I got an opportunity to go into technology and worked for a couple of different companies, but creating products and working on systems that ultimately would change people's lives. And that happens in so many capacities. It's not necessarily something that you go in saying, oh, this is something that is, absolutely necessary to change someone's life. This is something that's going to just, I look at you, Pierre, and I say, this is exactly what you need, and it's going to modify everything that you do. No one knows that going in. No one understands what people need. And so these different techs that I was able to be involved with enabled, in one sense, people to extend their lives, to extend their work life. I worked in drones for a while, and we built up an insurance industry. I was able to learn about drones and flying drones, and we talk about that in the podcast. I won't go too far into it. And being able to extend somebody's work life, because we were working in quarries and places where it's a lot of physical labor, and the drones were able to allow people more opportunity to work past a certain age when their bodies were not able to continue on the work that they were doing. And then that ended up taking me into New York and just taking that leap that I always wanted to live here. So let's do it. Let's figure
Yeah.
out a way. And constantly, I guess that's the thread, is let's figure out a way. And that's how Bella plays into, let's change something for the better. And maybe no one will believe in it to begin with, but we'll figure out a way. And at the end of it, we'll come out better for it.
This theme that's really just running through all of your experiences, and then even coming back to Bella and realizing these small acts of doing good, these small acts of kindness, they literally do, they literally add up.
Yeah.
Can you give us, and I know we're coming to the end of our conversation, can you give us one of those stories where someone who was impacted by a small act of kindness, a small portion of doing good, someone extending, some love from their karma account to someone else, and how that maybe even just transformed that person's day and their perspective on what was happening at the time for them?
Absolutely. There are so many of these, and it's really the highlight of my job to be able to hear these comments from our Instagram or from messages that are sent to our support team or through emails, whatever it might be. We love hearing these stories, and it's what helps us continue the fight, so to say, to change things.
Yeah.
There's one actually that comes to mind. There was somebody that was driving, their father had just died, and they were driving on the highway heading back for the funeral, and it was due to COVID. And so this person was just distraught. I mean, driving multiple hours trying to get there, stopped on the side of the road to get a meal, stopped at a fast food place, paid with their debit card, their Bella debit card, and somebody had paid it forward for them and bought their meal.
Mm.
And they wrote into us saying, I don't know who this person is. I'll probably never meet them in my life, but they have no idea what this moment meant to me when I was in this place that somebody somewhere cared enough to put money into an account that would pay out, and it hit me when I needed it. And there's so many stories like that where you see that the karma account pays out to the people that need it when they need it. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. You never know how one small act can change somebody else's entire being. To make that day a little bit easier, to have that meal paid for, I mean, that's under $10 for a person's, fast food meal on the road that let them know that they're not alone.
Man, chills hearing that story. I know you got a ton of them. I can't wait to read the book that's gonna come out from all of the lessons from the Karma account and the principles of paying it forward that you and the team at Bella are espousing, and then making it so easy for people to participate in. I got to ask you, this is shameless plug time of Courageous Conversations Live. Who should click on your LinkedIn profile and reach out to you? Who should go to bellaloves.me? Who are you looking to connect with at this time?
Anyone and everyone. I mean, our market is anyone who wants to do good. If you are trying to start a business or get involved with an organization, reach out to me. I'm happy to give advice or help or support wherever I can. I love connecting with people who want to change the world. And that world doesn't have to be on a massive scale of the entire environment, right? It can be, but it can also be starting with one thing like a community garden and supplying the opportunity for people to have access to food. I mean, these are simple things that can change an entire world for somebody. And these are the things that we'll be doing with our community initiatives. So if there are people that are out there that have programs, are interested in understanding more about how they can help each other, then reach out to me, whether it's through LinkedIn, through our membership and our support channels. You can also soon contact us through the website specifically for community initiatives. But you can always come to me directly, whether it's on LinkedIn or through our Instagram channels or whatever it is, just tag me. But our Instagram is at bellaloves.me. It's honestly our main communication channel with our community and with our people. So that's the best way to get in touch with us. And if you're looking for support for any of your worldly acts, whether that is to be able to change somebody else's life or just need a lending hand or an ear to listen, you can always message us. We're 100% empathetic and there to support our membership. And that's really what the community is about. So whether through our website, bellaloves.me, our Instagram at bellaloves.me, or through our Bella app, if you are a member, just message by tapping in support, help, or squad, and you'll get connected to a human 100% of the time.
I love it. Chelsea, thanks so much for hanging out. Listen, I also want to thank you in advance for the people who are going to click on your LinkedIn profile, who are going to send you that connection request. We're going to strike up a conversation, who are going to really sync up with you and what the Bella team is doing and what you will continue to do. And I thank you for the transformation that's going to result as that's going to happen as a result of that connection. And thanks for being a great guest on Courageous Conversations Live today. We had a great conversation. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Pierre.